Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Heart Centre Business Summit. I'm joined today by the fabulous Shalini Nandan. And Shalini is the beautiful legal coach from Legally Shalini, one of our resident advisors when it comes to all things legal and particularly for solopreneurs. And we're going to talk about a very hot topic today, and that is GDPR. So welcome, Shalini.
Hi, Tash. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Now, for those people who have been living under a rock and have not heard these four letters strung together before, what exactly is GDPR?
Okay, so the GDPR stands for the General Data Protection Regulations. I know it sounds very dry. It sounds like a dry biscuit. Yeah, it's very. So basically, it applies to people doing business online who may have clients or contacts that they collect personal information from that reside in the European Union countries. So the European Union countries are countries like the UK, Scotland, Ireland. You know, generally, there's a collection of some 80 odd countries.
Yep.
Now, how this affects us with our little old business, little tiny businesses that we're creating with so much love online, is our reach and where we hang out. So one of the things that came up sort of like out of the blue was comments like, "Oh, I don't think I have any clients over there," or "I don't really think I have anything to do with the EU." So the number one thing that I realized that people must look at when on their conduct online is, where are they hanging out in the Facebook business groups?
Yeah.
Right? Even with the Heart Centre group, there's 30-odd thousand women in that group. Guaranteed, because I have dealt with some, had connections with some of them, there is a large number of people who reside in an EU country.
Yeah, there's about 3,000. So about 10% of our ladies actually reside in the EU. Yep.
Okay, so it's a captive audience if you're a part of the group. Okay? If your offers are also offers to them.
Yep.
So you can't hide behind the fact that just because you don't have a client from the UK, that they're or the EU, that you're unlikely to be, that they're not going to be exposed to your messaging.
Yeah.
All right. So that's that. I just want people to understand their place, how they're positioned, so to be a bit more aware and think sort of a little bit outside the box. So that the GDPR
basically, in a nutshell, if you sell online, if you interact online with potential customers as well as customers, chances are this is going to apply to you in some way. There's no hiding from and saying, well, I don't think I have clients in the EU, so it doesn't apply to me. We're better off actually looking at this. How might this apply to me, and what do I need to prepare in order to be ready for it? Would that be accurate?
That would be very accurate. The thing is that we're all growing our businesses. So we don't actually start our businesses to stay stagnant.
No. Yeah.
We don't start our businesses to stay small. We may not be empire building, but definitely we want our reach to be beyond our living rooms, beyond our communities. But that's why we're online. Yeah. So if you are thinking, so that's one thing. But the thing is, it comes to the collection of information. So there's two things here. If you have a website, your privacy policy needs to comply with the requirements of the GDPR.
Yeah.
If you have a CRM, so you are, or an email marketing platform, and there's so many. The other day I had a question from a lady that says, do you have a list of compliant email platforms? And I thought, how long is a piece of string? There's one released every day. Okay? Yeah. What you need to do is, in our space, with the Heart Centre group or in the solopreneur space, it's pretty common, the ones that are being used. So it's like MailChimp,
ConvertKit,
and all of it. ConvertKit.
Yep.
What you need to do is to just go into their terms and conditions. They will have a whole suite of documents on the GDPR and what they've done to comply. Okay. So if they have not explained it to your satisfaction, then you need to ask a few questions. So essentially, it's how you are giving people control of the information that you collect. So each time you send a newsletter now, people can subscribe to your newsletter. They cannot, in that same subscription, be taken to have subscribed to all your marketing material. Mm-hmm. Each marketing campaign needs its own subscription. Mm-hmm. It also needs its own unsubscribing facility or option put in. You also need to make your privacy policy available at that time. So it's no longer okay to say, we protect your privacy. That actually means nothing. Mm-hmm. You need to have a privacy policy laid out for them on a link that they can access, where they can see how they can, what is actually going to happen with their information. So the GDPR is simply about the European Union really going hard to protect the personal information of the residents of the European Union. Mm-hmm. We have something similar in Australia. The Australian privacy principles also apply to us, but we tend to be a little bit like, people don't seem to take that much of a notice about it, right? It's always been there. And in March, there was some changes which I did talk about, and the main thing was about data breach notification. Mm-hmm. So that it takes something to happen for people to actually talk about it. Yeah, I feel that if you comply with the GDPR as much as you can, then by default you are complying as well with the Australian privacy principles. Okay? Yeah. So it's just a bigger. If you reach out to the EU, then you need to consider it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I know you said in a nutshell, it's a little bit more than a nutshell, but
So Shalini, a big question that people have, and I guess it comes from a space of fear, is what if I don't comply? Like, there have been some talks around big fines and, what's going to happen. I actually liken it to when EU VAT first came in, and if you were selling, passive products to the EU, you had to charge VAT and then pass it on, all those sorts of things. And everyone was like, I'm going to get in so much trouble. And then 3 or 4 days before it came out, there were some exemptions, and then this happened. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, it's not as big and complicated and scary as you think. And if you aren't compliant with it, there's some some rectifications that can happen, and these are the likely things that can happen. So is that clear at the moment for GDPR? Are there going to be fines? How is it going to be policed? Like, what is our doomsday worst case scenario if someone doesn't actually comply here?
Well, look, there is no doomsday. The only doomsday is when you're 6 feet under yourself. But I think what people need to realise is and you say it time and again, it's a process. It hasn't been tested yet. Okay, It comes in on the 25th of May. Yes, there are incredible, really enormous fines for the really, really big businesses.
Yep.
However, and your question to me about how will it be policed? Mm-hmm. It's actually Australian authorities that will enforce it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So you've got to understand, if they audit, if you're not complying with the Australian privacy principles and have a privacy policy already, then you already come under some sort of scrutiny. Mm-hmm. But if you have EU clients, then you're sort of like under double
scrutiny. Yep.
Yeah. So what I would say to people, and most people generally now understand the need for terms of use and privacy policy. I have been banging on about that since we met. Okay. And I remember thinking at the time, oh God, people, cross-eyed, who's going to take it? It does impact on your business at some point. But today is the day, I guess.
Yeah.
What I'm saying to people is, if you have a privacy policy in place and you have clients in the US, get it updated. Mm-hmm. It's not a big deal. Okay. that's business. It's not like, you know, you have to change everything you do. It's just an update.
Yep.
So you take a look at what the GDPR requires, and you just ensure that it applies to you, number one, and that your business processes has integrated the GDPR requirements in it. So that would mean update your privacy policy and make sure that you are using a reliable
email marketing
platform.
Yep.
Okay, if your email marketing platform is located in the US, they would come under the Privacy Shield. That the US has with the EU.
Yeah.
If your email marketing platform is located anywhere else outside the outside the EU or in the EU, then there is an adequacy test.
Right. Yep.
That they undergo, and there's an adequacy statement that's attached to it. So I think the thing is the checklist I've done is really to help people understand at what point in their business do they have confusion around, or concerns, or a question around the extent of their compliance.
Right. Yep. Beautiful.
Okay, and that's really it. There is nothing to say that there won't be any tightening of the GDPR rules further down the track, or any relaxation. It has to be tested.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, there will be things that will be ironed out. And insofar as a fear factor, like, oh my God, you know, if I don't get it all done and I'll be fined, you know, this incredible amount of money. Look, you're in business. This is a requirement. Fix it. Okay, it's a paper requirement. It's a matter
it's the same, to me, it's similar to having an ABN in order to conduct business in Australia.
That's right.
Or it's the same as you need to collect information about your financials so that you can report them to the tax office. This is another form of compliance. It relates to privacy of information, and you need, as a business owner, to ensure that you're compliant with the rules and regulations that actually go along with that information, having that information.
Absolutely. So in the heart-centered space, there is a large number of what I guess service providers in the allied health industry. Okay, so quite possibly they are collecting what is classed as sensitive information, which is related to. Now, people who are in that field and who are seeing clients on Zoom or marketing to people around the world, including the EU, and they are collecting in their sign-up form somewhere health information. You know, do you have a health condition? Do you smoke? Do you drink? Are you vegetarian? Whatever it is. This is sensitive information about a person.
Right.
That has a different and a more stringent requirement under the GDPR than if you're just collecting someone's email address and name for their newsletter subscription. Okay, so it's very clear that, and the checklist does cover what additional requirements sensitive information requires and what personal information requires. It's not, what I'd like to say to people is that it's a matter of educating yourself, right? In anything like this, it's a matter of educating yourself. Anyone who starts a business, it's all a practice and it's all learning. Yeah. You know, I was no different. You were no different. Yeah. So when you set up a business, you'll have a website. Consider that you will need a privacy policy. Talk to someone. A conversation with myself or with you will indicate very clearly, okay, my market is likely to be in the EU. Yeah. So therefore, my documentation, which is not intensive, it's your privacy policy, and that privacy policy is what's carried through your email marketing platform, and how you use the email marketing platform according to the requirements in the GDPR. Yeah, will cover you. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. At our level, at this stage of business, in the startup field, from idea to 5 years, that's it. When you are beyond the 5 years and you've grown incredibly, and you're in the, you're now purchasing marketing lists and all of this business, and you're turning over I think the cutoff is $3 million. You know, like your marketing is at the extent where you're actually buying a marketing list from another company, then you have a different set of problems or challenge. Okay. That's where you then have to now make sure that the person that you're buying that information from has complied with GDPR.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. The onus lies with you, not on the person that you're buying the information from. So you've got to only ever buy from someone that has complied and that you're satisfied that they have met the requirement.
Yeah.
So look at the stage of business you're in.
Yeah. But
the level of panic should determine, and the level of education that you need is determined by where you're
at in your business journey. Love that.
Absolutely.
So I'll just quickly mention that the checklist that Shalini is referring to is available to all viewers of the summit. So over on our summit freebies page, where you'll be able to find the recording of this interview, you'll also see a link where you can go and grab Shalini's checklist. And this is to help you work out where you're up to and what your requirements are. Is that right, Shalini?
Yes.
So just an initial understanding of what you're going to need to do.
Yes, and you know, I invite and I welcome any questions, so that they, you know, if they can email me or put the question up in the group, whatever, however is easiest for people. But definitely the checklist is designed to help you learn where your business sits in relation to the GDPR, and it is a big area, but you can find your place in it.
Yeah. Love it.
Get on with doing your business, you know, with ease and grace. You don't really have to spend hours and hours worrying about.
Another common question that came up, and that someone asked me to ask you as well, Shalini, was that a lot of people are receiving emails from businesses based in the EU and not in the EU that says, if you're in the EU, do you want to stay on this list? So their existing mailing list, they're going out and saying, if you want to stay on this list, you have to opt in again because of GDPR. Now, what is your understanding about the existing mailing list, and is this something that people need to do? Like, are there going to be some in-depth actions that people need to take before or on the 25th of May in order to ensure that their current mailing list becomes compliant?
Okay. One of the things about the GDPR is that it now requires you to be mindful about your list. You know, we have a tendency, we've got a list and it's sitting in MailChimp or ConverterKit. And we don't actually ever go in and really look at who's in the list. We just assume it's all good. We've got a great list, blah, blah. So now, if you have people on the list, if you had no privacy policy in place, right? And you did not, in your marketing campaigns that ask them to sign up, get consent as required by the GDPR. So like specific consent, and provided the information regarding privacy to those people that are on your list who are from the EU. You need to write to them and get fresh consent.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you are in the EU or if you are in Australia. If they are on your list and they have an EU address and you did not get consent properly, you need to email them again and get fresh consent, and tell them that if they don't want to stay on the list, and let you
subscribe. Yeah.
The thing that is a really important question. It's a great question. I'm glad you asked that, because I think it's a good thing, because we need to go back and for engagement, right? For relationship building, we need to be more mindful about who we are sending information to.
Yeah, yeah.
If you look at it that way, it's actually something that raises the bar.
It does, yeah.
It raises the bar.
I'm really actually excited about my email that's going out. So I'm sending an email out to my list, and it's got a summary of my privacy policy on there. I'm sending it out to everyone to say, you've been on you're on my mailing list. This is the type of information that I send to you. And I have had a privacy policy when people sign up all the time. Like I actually think that it's probably compliant. But I see this as a fresh opportunity for people to make a decision about whether they want to receive this type of information from me or not. and also to give people a little bit more control about the things that they receive emails from me about. So if people want to continue hearing about startup information, but they're not particularly interested in getting my regular newsletters and blogs, they can make a decision about that and have that extra bit of control. I see that as a really beautiful thing. So, you know, I think it is also, even if, you know, like me, if you did feel that you were particularly compliant, it could actually be a great opportunity, as you said, to do some relationship building and let people know how important their privacy, their information, the way that you communicate with them, let them know how important it is to you that that's something that works for them. That's actually a really beautiful thing.
It is. If you adopt that view of it, then what you're actually doing is supporting your business, because you're developing a relationship with your list. We tend to be disconnected from our email list.
Yeah.
Okay. We tend to start to just review, you know, if people, I see sometimes I see a post about people getting depressed because they've had unsubscribes, but seriously, if they didn't want to be on your list in the first place, don't take it personally. You should have invited them at, you know, several points in your journey with them to unsubscribe if they felt that they weren't getting value, because that's the sign of a business person proceeding with confidence, you know, and caring, like you really are caring about what your list looks like, who's on it, and whether you're providing value. So a small list is not something to be embarrassed about. A small list can be a very powerful list if they are your, you know, if they really want to be on your list, if they're the ones that carry your message forward. So the GDPR, Australia is not as stringent. So if you're not marketing to the EU, then, you know, if you have a local business, you're not affected. But understand this, if you think you have a local business and by some accident on your list you see an EU resident, you are still compelled to write to them and say, you know, that, or inform them or remove them. Remove them, because if you're not planning to comply with the GDPR, then don't go there. Don't expose, you know, like have that conversation. If they're on your list accidentally, take them off. So yeah, very much so. Get fresh consent. If even if you do have a privacy policy, it's also a new opportunity to market as well. Like you're refreshing people's minds about who you are, what you do, and where your business is going, and how you can help them.
And what they can expect from you in the future as well. So that to me always makes people feel like they've they've got a sense of control and they've got a sense of understanding of where it's going. And to be honest, if they're not interested in that, why would you want to spend the money on, you know, every subscriber costs you more money in terms of your marketing service. So why would you want to even have that person on your list if that's not a priority for them at the moment as well? So I do think that there's a way to approach it from a space of fear, and there's a way to approach it from a space of taking responsibility and not, you know, and developing your business and seeing this as a growth opportunity rather than a freak out opportunity. And I think what I love about what you're doing, Shalini, is you're inviting people to move into that space of the growth opportunity and the development part of it, rather than seeing this as something to be afraid of, whether that being afraid of reducing the size of your mailing list, or being afraid of getting in trouble, or being afraid of, you know, your list dobbing you in for something. Like, let's not do this from a space of fear. Let's do this from a space of business development and growth, and creating that extra sense of communication and connection with your marketing list, your mailing list, your followers, your tribe, whatever you like to call them.
What you'll find, Tash, now, and it's sort of like, you know, it's like the red car. When you buy a red car, that's all you see on the road is red cars, right? Well, if you buy it, so what you'll see now is every time you get a letter, an opt-in, like, you know, a marketing email, your eyes will wander down. Do they have a privacy policy? Let's click that link. Is it GDPR compliant? Let's click that link. Can I unsubscribe? Are they asking you? You know, these are the things that your eyes, that's what the words GDPR has started in people.
Yeah.
It's made them look at the marketing, and that's a really good thing, always.
I don't know if personally I'll be clicking on everyone's privacy policy and seeing if they're compliant. It might be more of a Shalini thing.
It's like you'll sort of like be aware.
You'll be aware.
It doesn't have an unsubscribe button. No, I'm not happy with it. You know, like if it puts that kind of awareness in you.
I love it.
All good.
And honestly, like, I also think like most of this stuff isn't new. So even the unsubscribe button in anti-spam laws, you're supposed to have had an unsubscribe button forever. And I've actually emailed people previously and said, this is clearly a marketing email and there's no unsubscribe button for me. Can you please take me off your marketing list? And also, here's a link to how you should be compliant with the law on this. You might want to check it out. So, you know, I think that we've already been aware of a lot of this stuff. It's just that now this is giving people maybe a little bit of a kick to say, this is getting serious now. We don't want to keep just playing and pretending and hoping for the best. Let's actually take some responsibility and be proactive here. So people can grab your checklist, get clear on whether they're compliant or not, what they need to do to move closer to compliance, and actually take some actions that are going to not only help them to comply with this legal requirement, but also have a deeper connection and relationship with those people that they're marketing to. Absolutely.
Also, look where you're hanging out on Facebook in all your different groups. I know there are some people that are, you know, a lot of people are active in a lot of groups. That's how you promote your business. So be mindful that just because you feel that, you don't actually speak to someone from the UK doesn't mean they haven't signed up to your newsletter. Okay, just be aware of that. And the second thing is your documentation that you need is actually not a lot. You need your website legals, which then leads on to being connected to your email marketing. And when you are in your email marketing software like MailChimp or Aweber or ConvertiKit, be aware that it's up to you to choose the options of subscribing, adding a privacy policy, and the copy that you put in relation to privacy. So don't make the mistake of just leaving it up to them. Up to their templates. Like, go and read their templates. Make sure that you're happy with it. And if not, then just change it to suit, you know, to be sure that you're happy with it.
And actually, a little quick note for those people who also use a teaching software, so something like Thinkific or somewhere else where you're collecting Teachable, where you're collecting people's email addresses and details, that will also need to be compliant. And I would assume, Shalini, then also shopping cart services, all of those sorts of things. It's not just mailing lists where you collect this type of information. So also make sure you're looking at all the different places where you collect information or ask people to provide something to you.
People signing up to webinars.
So your webinar service.
Your webinars. And I know, like, people watch webinars from around the world. They may not buy from you, but they have shared personal information from
a question just came up for me then, Shalini. I noticed now there's a lot of people, when you join a Facebook group, they have a question that says, would you like to jump on my mailing list? Put your email address in this question box. So that's going to be impacted then, isn't it?
Yeah, so what I would say to you is use that option to ascertain where they're from. Okay, so when you do look at their email address, for a start, the email address does tell you where, if it's a .com, then
could be anywhere.
Okay, I need to ask more. It could be anywhere. I need to ask more questions. But if they have like FR at the end or UK at the end, you know that it's a UK thing. That's a really clear indication of where someone is from. So when you ask them to pop their email address in, you also need to have, so they have shared their email address, which means at the same place you need to just have a link to your privacy policy.
Which you can't do at the moment in Facebook groups. So
not even in the questions?
No. So you can't have any hyperlinks in the questions. And and
well,
also there's no way to get people to be clear that they understand where their information will be going and how their information is being used as well. So I would actually suggest that if you are asking questions before people jump into Facebook groups, that that wouldn't be an appropriate place to collect private information. You would need to actually do that through like having another option, or have it in the pinned post that they go to a sign up page, and that way you can hyperlink to things like privacy policies and make sure that you're compliant. So that could be a really interesting space where people may not have considered, because what they're doing is when people put their email address in those questions, people are currently manually taking that email address and adding them to their mailing list, which you cannot do anymore. So that would be
what you'll have to
a bit grey.
Yeah, so it's probably a good idea, and I'll do a tip on it or something.
Yeah.
To for people to review that section. I need to go in and have a look myself.
Yeah.
Because I don't run a group.
No.
So I'm not able to see for myself, but I will have a look. The other thing too is if people do put their email address in, there isn't, you'll have to put quite a lengthy explanation, which makes it very unwieldy.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do is say something like, we do have a, go to the sign, go to the pinned post.
Yep.
And really put your push there, your copy there to take them, just as you said.
Yeah.
I would, for the moment, probably just take the question, that thing that would you like to subscribe and provide your email address.
Yep.
Remove that altogether.
Yep. Just for now and see.
Or just make a statement.
The beautiful thing is that with all of this stuff, that's where it's going to take some testing.
Yeah,
it's I guarantee that because that's something people really like doing, that at some point, or probably before the end of the year, something will change and the functionality will be adapted so that it can be GDPR compliant, because so many people use those questions to do that. So someone's going to figure out a way to do it, or the system is going to adapt and evolve so that you're able to adjust. Same with the VAT, with the EU VAT, all of the, PayPal, Stripe, they all became compliant very quickly and easily.
Very quickly.
And they made it easy for their users to be compliant. Same with MailChimp and ConvertKit. They've been sending out emails saying this is what's happening. They're educating their clients because it's in their best interest for their clients to actually have all the things that they need and be set up and equipped for this. So I think something like Facebook, I always say just take it off for now, give it a few months. Someone will work out a way to do this effectively, and then you can go back to collecting information that way.
That's not your signing up to a newsletter through a Facebook group is not usually the most your front to center marketing campaign.
No, that's right.
It's very incidental. It's very very casual. So it is. I will have a look at it though. There's a lot about Facebook that it will pan out, because I had a very close look at the Facebook GDPR policy, and many times through the document they say that they're in the process of working this out or that out. They're talking with their partners about this, or they're talking with their partners about that. So it will present itself. Sooner or later. But for the solopreneurs with their businesses, it's just about looking at your business and it's the pillars. It's coming back to the pillars. You've got your marketing, you've got your legals, you've got your financial, and there's one other one that escapes me for the moment. I think it's mindset or something. But like, it's just, you just tick the boxes, and this part of it is one of them, is to make sure that how you're collecting personal information is done according to the regulations, either of the GDPR, the Australian Privacy Policy, principles. I draft agreements for the companies in Australia who sell locally. Now, they they wouldn't need to be GDPR compliant. You know, these are people. So, for example, I have a client who delivers a certain type of food to their local community. Right? They need it, so the local community orders online.
Yep.
So they need terms and conditions and a privacy policy, but they don't have to be GDPR compliant, because it's very unlikely that their marketing, even through Facebook ads or whatever, is ever going to target anyone outside the PO boxes. I mean, the postcodes that they want to operate within. So it's very, you know, it's very important just to differentiate whether you're really local, as in Australian local, or whether you are actually going offshore.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Shalini, for your time today and helping us to navigate what can sometimes be a little bit scary and can definitely be blown way out of proportion with the online business world as well. Thank you so much for helping us to navigate this. As I said earlier, if you have been listening along and you'd like to grab Shalini's checklist, then just come along to ladyposseconference.com, and there on the summit page, you'll find the recording of this interview, as well as a link to go and grab Shalini's checklist. And I'm sure that Shalini's sign up page is completely GDPR compliant for grabbing that gorgeous checklist as well. So you'll be able to see what it's like to sign up to a GDPR compliant checklist, mailing list.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. And we'll also, as Shalini said, she's happy to answer any questions. So we'll have this interview up on our Facebook page, the Heart Centered Business Conference Facebook page. And if you've got any questions, you can pop them into the comments below the recording, and I'll make sure that we tag Shalini if there are any questions that pop up there as well.
Okay, cool. Beautiful.
Lovely.
Thank you for having me. Enjoy the rest of your tour around the world.
I will. Thank you so much. And until next time, both Shalini and I cannot wait to see you shine. Bye for now.